Welcome to a new edition of If I Ever Lived to Be. Today I have Mark Connor with me, and I'm so excited to dive into this conversation. Mark, I have so many questions because Mark began boxing at age 10. He's been involved in over 102 amateur fights, 3 national tournaments, and you became the Upper Midwest Golden Gloves lightweight champion at age 17. And so now you've really continued that passion, and you're training others, and you're also an author. You wrote this beautiful book that I have in my hands. It's About Time, 1 million copies sold for Dad. So we have so much to talk about, Mark. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So I was teasing a little bit before the show when you and I were talking, and I've clearly got places marked that I want to go in your book. But I feel like the most appropriate place that we should start from, and everyone wants to know, is how in the world did you get into boxing?
Oh, I just, so my brother is a year older than me. He's actually 13 days less than 1 year older than I am. They call that Irish twins. He was in, we were always interested in sports, and he was always kind of led that with me. We were always, being in Minnesota, we liked the Twins. We liked the Minnesota North Stars, which was the hockey team, the Vikings, the football team. And so we were into sports and everything. We were in a neighborhood that was pretty middle class, but kind of tough. A lot of kids, and there were a lot of sports, and then there was a lot of fighting. Never like dangerous stuff, just fist fighting. And I got into whatever sport there was. I just felt like that was the manly thing to do, is to be into these different sports. And then we also kind of got into the professional wrestling. There was this organization called the AWA, the American Wrestling Association, out of Minneapolis, and we used to watch that every Saturday, and we'd play wrestling and stuff like that. And I kind of got into, there were so many sports shows on the 4 channels of TV back then. The early, mid 70s was like, or late 70s was like the wide world of sports, and Sports Saturday, whatever it was, ABC, NBC, CBS, and there was also the bodybuilders. I kind of got into. I remember when I was about 9 years old. I would get interested in like these guys that had their bodies really built up and the muscles. I was really kind of interested in that kind of thing, and in boxing at that time. So we were about like 79, 80. 78 to 80, the 76 Olympic team had been really big. That was the one that had Sugar Ray Leonard, and that's the biggest name that came out of there. But all that was starting to get more popular, and it was on TV every weekend. There'd be one fight on, there'd be a professional fight on, or else it'd be the USA team would be having a dual meet with some other country. And I started to really get interested in it. I was really attracted because I kind of wanted to be a bodybuilder for a while, but then I started seeing these boxers, and I saw the muscles, and it was kind of the beauty of the kind of athletic condition they were in, and just it was really an aesthetic thing about just the way it looked with the gloves and the way people were punching and stuff. It wasn't even so much of a thing about wanting to be a tough guy or anything like that. So I started really being interested in boxing and wanting to box, and also. We hadn't seen my family. My parents would always take us to movies, and we hadn't seen the movie Rocky. Which when I saw it advertised, my brother wanted to see it. I thought it looked kind of stupid, but then the movie Rocky 2 came up. We went and saw that, and when I saw that, and I always thought if I saw the first one, I might not have been as inspired because he didn't win the title in that one. But the second one, he won the title, and I started thinking about being a champion, And I remember saying to my mother I wanted to box, and she said, "No, you can't box it. I can't. You could never box. You get your nose broken." I said, "Well, I'll break that guy's nose." And she said, "No, that's the attitude it gives you. I don't want you to have that attitude." Periodically, I kept begging my dad, there's got to be a gym somewhere. There's got to be some place locally we can go that I could box. and he had a friend whose sons were about 17 and 19 or 18 and 20, who my dad took me to. There was on the east side of St. Paul. There was a restaurant, Italian restaurant, where every September they would have a boxing card in the parking lot, and my dad ran into this guy Luigi Dana. His sons Louis and Joey were boxing on that night, and he took me into the lounge downstairs in the restaurant that was serving as the locker room, and introduced me to Emmett Yanez, who was the founder of the Mexican American Boxing Club. And he told me, "Do you want to box real bad?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Then show up on Monday. This is a Friday night. Show up on Monday, and I'll teach you to box. If you don't want to box real bad, don't waste my time." And I really thought this guy was. I mean, he spoke real forcefully, and I was really scared. And I thought, this guy's going to be really mean, but I really want to do this. I went there, and he wasn't mean. He was really a wonderful guy, and I just liked it immediately, and it was my way of playing. When I was hitting the heavy bag, in my mind, I was being that professional boxer I saw on TV. When I was jumping rope, I was training like the guy. I was training like Rocky, or like the guy that I saw in the pre-fight little documentaries they would do before a fight, introducing the guys that were fighting. And you see, I would do those things, and that was just my way of playing every day. Wherever other kids would go out and ride their bike, or go and hang out with other people and throw a football around or whatever, my way of playing every day, Monday through Friday, from 5 to 7, was to be in the boxing gym. And and then I started getting up in the morning and running before going to school and everything like that. So yeah, and it just stuck with me. So I did it through high school and and into my 20s, and I always kind of regretted not turning professional. The 3 guys from St. Paul that I went to the National Golden Gloves with when I was 17, they all within 2 years had turned professional. 2 of them won world titles, and the 3 of them fought 11 world champions between them. And the one that didn't win a world title, Larry Lacazette, his peak was, he fought 10 rounds on I think it was on Showtime with Julio Cesar Chavez. I don't know if you know who that is, but that's
yeah.
And he didn't get cut, knocked down, or beat up. He didn't win the fight, but it was a pretty amazing thing. So I did end up having one professional fight at age 44. I fought a 22-year-old. I thought I had the age advantage because I had the experience, and I lost a technical decision. I got headbutt and got 15 stitches. It was
goodness,
kind of embarrassing, but I wanted to get it out of my system, and I don't know that I really did though. So I hope that's somewhat of a good answer. I mean, the thing is, when you start talking about boxing, it's like putting a quarter in me, and I don't shut up. So I kind of go on different tangents and so forth.
No, I love that. That's you led into the crux of what I want to know, and you said it several times in several different ways, because you mentioned, it took Rocky to movie 2 to get that title, and even your trainer saying, "Don't show up if you're not serious about this." Speak to that a little bit, and the literal mind, body, physical stamina that it requires to keep going. And I'd love for you to bring that together and what it means in life, because that's really what I felt when going through your book. I could see that theme coming out in so many of the different points and poems.
Yeah. Well, with boxing, what you're always trying to achieve is balance. The first thing you need in boxing is balance.
Interesting.
Because what you need to do is, the way you stand, you must distribute your body weight to both sides of your body equally, right? That way you can punch with the same amount of power in either hand. And what you add to that is you add speed. When you add speed to the balance, and you have power. Having a lot of muscle, being able to push a lot of weight, doesn't make you able to punch hard. If you can't coordinate your body in a manner in which you throw the punches efficiently, you're not going to be fast. You're not going to be powerful. So, in boxing, you have to get the endurance for it, the strength and endurance to make it through a boxing match. What you have to do is you have to train yourself, and you have to train yourself daily. And so, the running, the road work, the distance running is that's something that you can't really replace, and it can't replace sparring, which is actual boxing with someone in the gym where it's real time, so that your endurance, because you get a kind of endurance for the fight from actually boxing that you wouldn't get otherwise. So if you don't have that sparring, you're not prepared for the fight, because there's a pressure that you have, and the fatigue you get, you have to be able to deal with that. And you're not able to deal with it if you don't have that experience, that pressure over and over again. And then, so then your diet is important also, because you have to,
right.
Like carbonated beverages, like I love what we always called it pop, but like soda pop in Minnesota, some places just call it soda. I loved that. And I would cut it out a month, sometimes 2 months before, the tournament coming up and stuff like that, because the carbonation expands your stomach, and so when you expand the stomach, that limits the oxygen flow to your lungs, right? So, but that kind of thing, you need to have the diet, and you have the discipline of the rest. So you got to be able to get to bed early so you can get up early, and then you have to get the routine going. So you're training every day. You got the morning run and workout, then you got the workout in the gym at night. So so that's what's important when it comes to being able to box. Now when it comes to the rest of life and applying that to the rest of life, it pretty much works with everything that one does. I mean, you have to. Freedom is not just being able to do whatever we feel like doing. It's being able to. Freedom is really being able to develop yourself to the best of your potential. Mm-hmm. So, and that includes a lot of sacrifice, and you have to have structure. So, one thing that I find difficulty with is when I have a job and I've got to be someplace, 8 to 4 or 9 to 5, then I'm there and it's structured for me, just like school is structured for you. But then, being a writer, trying to do a boxing training business and things like that, if you don't have the schedule set, then a lot of times me having the artist kind of brain, I get distracted to do this and do that, and so it's a really important thing to have that kind of discipline. And yeah. So that's how I say it would apply to the rest of life, and the spiritual aspect.
Yes.
I grew up in the Catholic faith, and I kind of explored other stuff as I got to my 20s, and then I returned to a full re-embracing of the Catholic faith. I never really fully left it, and I got involved with Native American Indian community, and particularly got taken to Rosebud, South Dakota, and Pine Ridge, South Dakota, to the Sundance ceremony, and ended up working at a place called Andayung, which is Ojibwe for our home, AINDAHYUNG. It's 3 words. It's a temporary emergency homeless shelter for kids age 5 to 17. And I worked there for about 13 and a half years.
Wow. And
it's in St. Paul. And so it's part of the urban Indian community, and the whole idea of having a faith and believing in God, and then also that spiritual ritual is something that's important, I think, in life also. I talk at a certain point in the book about between 2003 and 2007, because I worked at different capacities there, and sometimes I was full-time. At one point, I was an education specialist, and another point I was just, doing direct care stuff. It was all direct care. And then, but when I was on call and I really needed money, I went back to working there between 2003 and 2007, weekend overnights. And I used to go to this sweat lodge ceremony in Prairie Island, which is a Dakota reservation about 38 miles outside of St. Paul. And it was on Friday nights, and I was working on Friday nights when that was happening. I was saying to myself, I still went to Mass, but sometimes I was skipping it. I was like, well, I did something religious, which according to my religion is not what I'm supposed to do. But I was thinking to myself, I'm raised as a Catholic, and the way I'm living my life and the relationships I'm having and stuff like that, I got to start living the way I was raised to live, because, I'm never going to end up married with kids like my father is right now, if I don't do that. And so it was within that community that I actually ended up re-embracing my Catholic faith at the time. But I was thinking, I was working 11 p.m. to 9 a.m. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I was making an excuse. If I didn't get up on Sunday and go to Mass, it's okay. But no, it really wasn't okay. So I started either going at 4 o'clock on a Saturday, or getting up and going on Sunday, even though I was tired. And that's kind of when I re-embraced it. So I'd say, as far as what boxing has taught me in terms of writing, is to have that regimentation in life and try to have that discipline. And when I wrote this book, it was after just over a year of mourning. And I finally decided at the end of 2020 that I was going to do something that my father would be really happy with. So as soon as the year started, or as soon as I could, the 2021, I was going to write it. I sat down I believe it was between February 9th and the 29th of March. And I wrote it in that period of time. That's when I got the first draft down. And I knew everything I was going to write. But there's, I got up every day, and this is the first thing I did, was to write. And I made sure did so many hours. I probably did at least 4 hours a day. And then, but when I would quit, there's an Ernest Hemingway trick. He always said, quit while you're ahead. Quit when you know what's going to happen. So you know what the next scene is, that's when you quit. Because when you start the next day, you've got the routine going. And he used to use sports metaphors. I mean, he talked about, doing it the way kind of a marathon runner trains or something like that, So that's the answer to that question.
No, I love that. And it's a perfect segue, because obviously you honor your father in the title, and I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about him and the title itself of It's About Time, because at the beginning of the book, you say that this is a phrase you use often, that someone in your family or a friend would be like, I'm getting a new car, or I'm going to start a new job, or we're going to get married. And you're like, it's about time. I even heard that as you were saying, going back to your faith of like, it's about time, right? It's about time I actually take this seriously and implement it. So I'd love to hear you talk about that, Mark.
Right. Well, was there a certain point that you see you've got some sections marked out?
I do. So I marked 2 of the poems. Mm-hmm. So with your permission, I'll read a little bit of Life So Simple, if that's okay. I'm gonna read a little bit of the end. Demons distract, demons lie, and demons discourage us from our destiny till we die. Friends encourage, friends assist, and friends persist with love on which we can rely. Your guardian angel and mine, your guardian angel already talked to mine. Together they have watched us share laughter and argue to the point of crying. They're sent by God, who really does exist and is not a tyrant or a terrorist. Rather, he is love, family, life, held in common at the core. You and I, specific spokes, united in the center, spinning round from place to place, and nothing more.
Right. Right, right. Well, the opening line is, as if to pray, you start today in meditation on your bicycle wheel, the separate spokes united in the center. So when I'm saying at the end, you and I, specific spokes united in the center, spinning around from place to place and nothing more. So that young lady to whom I wrote it was, she was leaving town, and I was imagining myself being in one side of the country and her being the other side.
Yeah.
The country just being a big wheel, but we're from the Twin Cities, which is the center of it's the northernmost state of the country, but it's also the center of the country, and the Mississippi River runs down the middle of it. So we kind of divide the east and the west of the country. And most of St. Paul is on the east side of the river, most of Minneapolis on the west side of the river. So metaphorically, that kind of works out. But yeah, and the thing about demons distract, demons lie, and demons discourage us from our destiny till we die. Well, have you ever read the Screwtape Letters by?
Oh gosh, probably in high school, Mark. It's probably been a minute, but I vaguely remember it. Yes.
C.S. Lewis. So
Yeah.
So the uncle senior tempter is writing to the junior tempter, Wormwood. I think Screwtape is the senior, and the Wormwood is
Yes.
the junior tempter, one or the other. But he's telling him to tempt your subject. So he's trying to get this guy. He's trying to get this. One demon is trying to get the junior demon to tempt a guy into hell. And he says to him, always make sure he's thinking about the past or caught up with the future. Never let him think about right now. Never let him be in this moment. And I think that one of the things about one of the clearest ways in which we successfully discern God's will for us and then carry it out and actually do God's will is just to be in the very moment and then just do the thing that's necessary to do right now, no matter how simple or seemingly unimportant it is. It's the thing that's our responsibility right now. So, and the book, It's About Time. I mean, it's about time. Millions of copies sold for Dad. Well, it's about time that happens too. But I mean, the whole thing is about time. It's just that my father was dying. So my mother and father were on this vacation down in San Francisco. I was going to pick them up. They're there for 4 days. And my father, as I explained in the opening pages, they were talking about how great their marriage was and how much they loved each other and their family and their kids and their grandchildren. And they couldn't wait to get back home in their life. And they were in a Costco parking lot 5 minutes from the airport with the rental car they're going to bring back before they got on the plane. And my mom had called me at 3:00 our time to let me know she was in the hospital. My dad had a heart attack. They were having that conversation. He started the car. He had a heart attack and slumped over the wheel. And there was a health fair going on. So there were two EMTs my mom jumped out asking for help, yelling for help, and two EMTs came with a defibrillator and kept him alive. And it was 10 days later that I was with my mom praying over him as we allowed them to turn the life support off. And I was looking, thinking, I need more time. He hadn't seen me get married. He hasn't seen me have children. And he hasn't seen me publish a book. And I said to myself, I was really angry with myself. I said, this is just ridiculous. I talking here about a novel that the first copy of it only copy I have it got stolen from my car. I actually rewrote it and but never got to a point where I thought, okay, I'm going to try to get it published now. And I've done that with a number of different works. And I said to myself, this is just stupid and ridiculous. I've got the talent, I've got the ability to get something published. It doesn't matter if it if it goes anywhere or not. I'm just going to do it. And so that's, that's what that was. But, so that's what the whole thing about demons distracting is about. And I'm saying that to this girl too, it's like, I mean, you got your issues in life and you think that you just have to, get away from your family and leave town and go, but it's not necessarily going to, wherever you go in life, your problems come with you. And then, I say your guardian angel already talked to mine together. They've watched us share laughter and argue to the point of crying. I'm actually writing about a conversation where we're kind of partying, and she was starting to cry a little bit, not necessarily because life was just not working out, and and I cried later. But the thing is I really believe our guardian angels were there, that your guardian angel is here right now, mine is here. So we don't know what they're saying, but they're communicating to each other also.
Yes.
And I really believe that. And, we live in a time when it's become really popular to, especially from the last century, to really question the existence of God or really deny the existence of God. But it seems illogical to me that there isn't a God, and it seems also a really just giving up on the possibility of goodness. It's just too limited of a thing, and I really believe that God is love, family, and life. And as a Christian, I mean. We had our schism back in was it the 14 or 15 I can't remember when the actual year that Luther walked away, but the thing is that I think that's the 1500s. But anyway, the thing about it is that we have our separations. But the one thing that universally in Christianity that is accepted is that there's a Trinity, Father, Son, and Spirit. And that's really an example of family. It's where one is present, all three are present. And, the belief that the second person of the Trinity came to show us how to be in order to get back to God. It came through a woman, a pure woman who never sinned. It's just that I can't think of a more uplifting recognition of the dignity of a human person than that. I think there are shades of that in the Lakota tradition. I think there are shades of that actually. There's I don't know if you ever heard of this book called Black Elk Speaks, which is a really popular book about the Oglala Sioux Nation. And Black Elk was a mystic medicine man who had these visions as a young boy. He had a fever and had these visions, and he was cousin to Crazy Horse, and he was like 12, I think 10 or 12 years old, riding with the warriors who fought Custer's men. And then he was there at the Battle of Little Bighorn when Custer was killed. And he was there in the late 1800s when the cavalry massacred women and children at Wounded Knee. And in the early 1900s, the thing about the book Black Elk Speaks is it doesn't talk about the fact that when he was interviewed by this sociologist who wrote this big book that was really popular and sold millions of copies and got people interested in the American Indian tradition. He didn't say that at that point for years he'd been Catholic, and he'd actually more than half of his life he was Catholic, and he was a catechist in Rosebud and Pine Ridge reservations. And he's credited with the baptisms of bringing people into the church, being baptized. Wow. over 400 people. And since 2017, his cause for canonization as a saint has been open. So his name is, he took the Christian name Nicholas, his name's Nicholas Blackout. Some of the visions he had, this white buffalo calf woman is, who brought the Chinoopa, or the sacred pipe, to the Oglala or Lakota people. And I've heard it said, I haven't really read much about this, that's some sort of parallel vision of the Blessed Virgin Mary. And I'm not saying that it is, and I haven't investigated this or anything, but I think that respect for women and womanhood is something that is really important. And in the kind of new agey perception of it, like with a lot of religion, it just kind of opens up to people for sexual selfishness, in their behavior, when really there's a purity, and the purity is not that everyone has to be a virgin their whole life, but it's just that the respect for the gift of who we are as people, and so that, I don't know, I'm getting kind of tangential, but that's kind of what I'm getting at with this, with what I'm saying in that particular poem. And actually, in the third verse of that poem, Life's So Simple, I say the final action is the original intention. This statement is authentically true, not just my invention. Where I got that from is there's a Professor Scott Hahn, who is he's a former, I think he was a Presbyterian preacher, and he became a Catholic convert, and he's one of the most popular ever and influential Catholic apologists. And he teaches at Franciscan University in Steubenville, Ohio. He's got a book he wrote about marriage culture, called the first. I think it's the first society. I can't. But and he says in there, the final action is the original intention. God created everything, yes, and He created man. And after He created man, He created woman, yes, because that was His vision for humanity. And a bad rap that the Catholic Church gets, and also the Christianity in general, is, well, you want to enslave women, you want marriage, you want people to be married. It's like a woman becoming a man's property, and that's really not. That's never been true. Right. And it's always been a partnership and a team building family, and that's one of the things. So I end the book talking about the riots, and going out with American Indian Movement, armed, helping protect buildings, because a Native American building that got burnt down across the street from the Minneapolis police station that got burnt down. And the thing about it is, I was looking at these buildings. I mean, it looked like bombs that hit these buildings. Yeah. And people who are doing this, there are people who are doing it that literally want to overthrow the country. I mean, that was of the riots that were happening and everything. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute now. And that's part of when I say in the long poem that before we started, you told me you wanted to allude to, is I feel the eyes upon me. When I make that statement, yes, it is impossible to destroy, I'm trying to remember, this. It's impossible to destroy it all to destroy what's bad. If you destroy the whole thing, it's to get rid of all that's good along with all that's evil. And I'm thinking to myself, this country, we have to keep it together. Yes. We can't just break down into just fighting each other, and I really believe that about how we are right now. So that's kind of, along with honoring my father and kind of dealing with it and moving on and healing, I also wanted to make an observation about how things are right now in the United States and kind of give hope to people. I want the reader, the reader might not necessarily agree entirely with what my world vision is, but I believe that I've written this respectfully enough that the reader will understand what I've said, feel respected, and walk away with reading this book with having a sense of hope. I mean, that's what I'm really trying to achieve with this book.
So, Mark, I have to ask my new last question that I've just started asking on the show, thanks to a mentor of mine that gave me this feedback. But, you know, I named the podcast "If I Ever Live to Be" is the general show title. And every episode is something that the guest shares that I aspire to be. And what's interesting is like this one's going to be a fighter, right? Like the title of this one's "If I Ever Live to Be a Fighter." To me, that's ongoing. I think you have to show up and fight every day. It's just not something that you become. It's not something that you arrive at. And I would love for you to share what that thing is you live to be. What does Mark Connor want to be known for?
Wow. Well, I want to be a writer and a boxing trainer. Those are professionally speaking. That's what I want to do. You know, I really want to find a woman that I can unite with and actually please God, have you know, at least one child. So ultimately, I want to be known for being a part of my family and keeping the family going in a way that keeps my larger community in my country going, that's contributing to the world in one way or another. So ultimately, I think the way to do that is just to be obedient to and a servant of God. Ultimately, that's what I think. I think that's what it comes down to with all those things I just described. I think that's the only way to do that successfully that I can see is to honestly, accurately, humbly discern God's will for me and hopefully gracefully carry it out. That's what more than anything, I hope I can do.
Well, I think you're well on your way, my friend. I know it's a lifelong, ongoing journey, and sometimes it changes, just like we have to change the direction of our punches. But
yeah.
Well, I definitely want to give you the opportunity to tell folks where they can go pick up It's About Time, because we only touched on just a little bit, and I would definitely recommend everyone picking up their copy and reading this. It's fantastic.
Well, yeah, I wish we had more time to talk. I wish I could have, I'm gonna have to work on my discipline. I wish I could have got more in with less words. So Boxers and Writers Magazine, all spelled out. That is my website. If you click onto that, the books page allows you to purchase it. It's purchased but when you click onto it, it's going to take you either to whichever link you purchase it through. It'll take you to Amazon, or it'll take you to another link called Lulu, Lulu. Depends on who you want to give who you want to give the cut to. Whether you want to give it to Jeff Bezos, or you want to give it to someone supposedly more independent. I'm not sure exactly who owns Lulu, but those are the two places: Amazon and Lulu. You can go directly to those websites, or you can go through my website, boxersandwritersmagazine.com. That's all spelled out. I'm going to try. It was in one store in St. Paul that unfortunately closed, but it was a silver winner of the Midwest Book Awards a couple of weeks ago. So that covers 12 states. So I'm going to try to get it in. I'm working in the next month to try to get it in bookstores in each of those 12 states.
Very cool.
Yeah. But other than that, boxerswritersmagazine.com, Amazon, Lulu.
Do you think you'll write another book?
Oh, I intend to, and in some of the other stuff that I have written, I am intending to go back and get working on it. It's got to be. I've got to get into that routine where I'm in that where I'm working with that balance of discipline that I talked about earlier, so I can get these projects taken care of. And I do have that first novel I talked about, which, I think it's in chapter 5, where I talk about when I got stolen from my car. The only copy that I had in notebook was eventually rewritten. And so I intend to revise that and get it published. And I've got an idea for a trilogy with that. And I also have another novel in mind right now that kind of deals with some of the personal experiences of the last the decade leading up to my father dying. So
yeah,
but it has to do with boxing, and it has to do with other just dramatic things in life. So
well, you'll have to come back on and share about it. I'd love to have you back.
I hope I can. I'd love to talk longer, and I can't wait to hear this episode and view and listen to more of the shows.
Absolutely. Well, I would love to have you back, Mark. This has been so energizing. I love just the key takeaways from the show, and I think our listeners are going to certainly be inspired. So thanks so much for sharing your time with me today.
Well, Whitney, thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm very grateful for the opportunity, and I hope it's a great week for you, and if something goes well, and hopefully we'll be communicating in the future.